Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cannon Fodder, but the first Cannon project of the new season. And boy, am I surprised. I'm excited. I'm excited because we've got the Lightly lads back again together again.
Hey!
Can't take you anywhere. And we got Richard II in the house as well. But we're going to get into this one. I don't know where it's going. There's no topics, no agenda. But we're getting to this one on the other side of this music intro.
Yeah.
So indeed, we are back. Yes, the first Cannon project of the new season, and we've got the Lightly lads back in the studio. But yeah, before we get to this one, guys, make sure that you do subscribe to Cannon Fodder TV and hit the bell notification button. Now for the intros. Richard II, how have you been? If you can hear me.
Very good, thanks. And yourself?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Very good, thank you.
Hot. Good. It's just a little bit hot, but we're
yes,
okay.
It has been. Oh.
You live in Portsmouth. Where do you live? Portsmouth.
Yes, I live in Portsmouth. I was at a friend's tournament. He had a wargaming tournament, and it was boiling. But being outside, we had plenty of beer, plenty of iced water. we were good.
Sounds like a good one. But welcome back, Richard. Now for the Lightly lads. Yeah, Tim.
Hey. We're off and running.
Tim, how you been?
Oh,
Tim?
we've been great. It's been very. You'd have to be good. Like just following Arsenal at the moment is just like you just wonder how far. Like I remember as the famous French revolution of the 90s when it could be the Rio de Janeiro Carnival at the moment. They're unbelievable. Like it's kind of and like some of the you're kind of watching it. I watched it on Sky. They had it is the late game, and I obviously when I saw the analysis as well. But like it was there was a resolve there. There was things there that you would really admire. Like and it was really good stuff there. But yeah, we've been great. Sorry, Terry.
No, I was just going to say I did send a message on Facebook to the County Clare Arsenal Supporters Club. They're known as the Clare Arsenal Supporters Club. And so if they're looking in, I did tell them that we were on Cannon Fodder TV. So a big hello, and yes to the man whose name escapes me from Fecal. I will have a nice pint of plain with you ASAP. And the big hello to Scott. He's known as Scott from Singapore, who is not from Singapore at all.
Oh, right, okay.
He's from West Clare, but he's a lovely lad, and he wanted to be mentioned. So there you are. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing a weird-looking Arsenal shirt. Do you remember when Arsenal had the sort of blue band across the middle? I turned up at the old clock end when they put all the North Bank supporters up there. I was with them, and I was with these complete crazy guys, and that we all had seats, but nobody sat.
Yeah.
And people used to kick the sort of back of your seat if something went wrong, and your seat would be in plastic shards. I mean, it was fun, and I paid for that, and I walked in one day with an earlier version of this, where the blue was darker and the kit was really like the current Arsenal change kit at the time. So one of the guys said to me, "This is a fake Cockney accent. Oi, mate, where'd you get that top, man? It's a bit like Arsenal." I said, "Well, it's from a team called County Clare. They play Gaelic football, but they're in particular they're a hurling county." "What's hurling, mate? Is that to do with getting sick? And you hurl up?" No, I said, no, it's nothing to do with that. Always a laugh, And no, I'm delighted to be here. So as I say, hello Scott, and hello to any Clare Arsenal supporters that are tuning in.
Brilliant. Richard, Gabriel Jesus, is he the person? Is he the one? Is he the chosen one? Is he the missing piece that we've been waiting for the last 20 odd years?
Not a missing piece, but he's part of it. What he does is he brings winning mentality and a drive to win, and we've lacked that in the team. And along with Zinchenko, they'll drive the standards up. Still need more, but it's going in the right direction, I believe.
Okay, all right.
You
agree, Tim?
Yeah, we were sure, Tim.
Yeah, well, just like you see, ultimately, you have to say, looking back on last year, like I know, look, I was very disappointed with certain aspects, particularly the FA Cup. That it was very tame exit from that. Tavares, but was very poor on that night. But I remember, like, we were fighting for fourth with Tavares at fullback, with Lacazette as our kind of goal scoring threat. So in other words, much inferior players than what we are looking at the moment. And Gabriel Jesus looks like he has come from a successful team. He has probably been, I won't say peripheral, but he definitely wasn't the main man. And now he is the main man. He has definitely, there's the whole Brazilian thing with himself and Martinelli. Even Gabriel actually was it in this Crystal Palace. He put this ball across to Saka, and it was like Franz Beckenbauer-esque. It was just unbelievable type stuff. So there is willingness to play. Arteta wants to play. It was funny, I was reading only yesterday before that after they lost the 3 matches last year, and you see, I had this perception that Arteta was kind of overcoaching nearly, but after they lost the 3 matches the start of last year, when they were going out to play, I think it was Norwich in the 4th match, Arteta told the coaches, fewer instructions. Mm-hmm. And I feel Jesus is the type of player that he will be a leader. He will be the man that creates an environment that asks people to express themselves. And look, Odegaard is not maybe a traditional type captain, but he is a leader. He has that leadership quality. You can see it in him. He's a strong work ethic, and look, it's very admirable. And of course, I have to say this. I just can't believe this. Is that Xhaka is just he has cockroach type qualities. And before anyone says I'm slandering him, let me fully explain. He fell out with the supporters. The captaincy was taken off him. He was being sold to Roma. They brought in this new guy Vieira, who was meant to replace him. And every time there's an obstacle put in his way, he survives and gets over it. And people were touting him for man of the match on Saturday night. So he's just unbelievable. He is just indestructible. He has survived now. And actually, funny enough, reading the general view of the weekend is that Man United's Martinez is struggling with the physicality, and of course, Graham Souness has put himself into hot water with the physicality of the Premier League. But I think Vieira he might struggle to get into it too. So Xhaka's career could be surviving another bit. So he's remarkable.
Tel, before I go to you, I want to ask Tim a question. Yeah. I mean, with this slogan, the process, believe in the process.
Yeah.
If the process is not able to yield any trophies or major honours, the process is useless, right?
Yeah, well, you see, the thing about this, and I think Terry and myself are in one camp. People are on about 4th. Now, don't get me wrong, 4th is better than 5th. I'm not being that bad, but it's not this be all and end all. I mean, the most disappointing day I had last season was the day we were eliminated in the FA Cup, because I believe that easy. Now, look, I'm a throwback to the 70s. My first big day watching Arsenal was the 79 Cup final against United. So it was the day of all the Irish players. It was just people around here were big into it. So I kind of have an affiliation to the Cup. But that was a competition Arsenal could go far in. Now the League Cup, Liverpool caught us out. But ultimately, we went out of that so tamely. So then it was all the we were fighting for 4th. I mean, in a way, I wasn't that impressed whether we were 4th or 5th, really. What I was saying was some parts of it were admirable in the sense that we were still challenging with no real striker and definitely very weak in defence. So we had Tavares on one side and Cedric Soares on the other. So they were our 2 full backs. Gabriel and White were putting in a good old fight, but you know, we weren't creating the chances. And the most impressive thing I have seen this year so far is that we went to Crystal Palace, we won 2, we got 2 goals, but more importantly, we kept a clean sheet. And if you look at the XG, I'm all about the XG now, Alex, at the moment. The XG states that we had roughly the same amount of chances as Crystal Palace. And we were, would you remember we watched that match? Oh my God, the pressure was on, like, and we were on. And they stood up to it. Now, Zinchenko looks like a real leader, and he looks like a kind of going to supplement the left side of midfield.
Yeah.
He's a winner, like, he's a winner. Gabriel and Saliba, he's 21 years of age. There's going to be mistakes like there was last Saturday, and I kind of would blame Ramsdale a little bit for that as well, by the way. But anyway, there's going to be mistakes. But he looked majestic that night. I thought he looked majestic against Crystal Palace. And like the man on the other side, White was very good as well. I'm confident anyway.
Tell Gabriel Jesus, the main man.
Okay.
Oh, me. Oh,
yeah.
he reminds me of our old friend Ian Wright. He's got this inbuilt radar, whether he's facing the goal or not, he knows where the goal is. And that was it, the first goal he scored, where he kind of chipped it into the far corner. That was an Ian Wright goal, wasn't it? Yeah. He didn't. I've watched it several times. He didn't look up. He didn't remind himself of where everybody was, because in the melee of the balls flying around, you can't do that. But in his head, he knew exactly where the corner was. He didn't look up. He addressed the ball, which you're supposed to do by watching the ball. He chipped it perfectly right over all the defenders, over the goalkeeper. That's an Ian Wright skill, and we've needed that for a long, long time. So I'm delighted with that, and I think I still am a bit worried that we haven't got a plan B. By a plan B, you see, we're trying to do, it's a little bit like Guardiola Mark II, and Klopp does something similar, where we're trying to play through these 5 channels up front, you know? So you get the ball into either the wings or what they call zone 14 in front of the D, and then you have your 5 forwards attacking. But if that's failing, if you're up against a low block and they're crowding the area, and how many times when I used to go and watch Arsenal every week, did I see a low block against us? And I used to say to myself, if the opposition were trees that were planted and didn't move, you'd still have trouble getting the ball in the net when there's 11 people between you and the goal. And I do worry that we don't have what I call a plan B, which is to have a big guy. Okay. And then if it's not working, just see if you can get a goal from a corner or from a deep cross. You don't need to reach the byline anymore. You can do a deep cross, and if you've got a guy that's good in the air, then great. Now I was watching Skamaka. Is it the guy that West Ham have just bought 6'4"? Yeah. But I can see why we didn't go for him. He's a bit of a palooka, to be honest. And it's, I don't know if that's a phrase they hear here.
No. Very much. And actually, I actually suggested Arsenal buy him last January. We had a program about transfers, and I was all about him because of some statistic I had read someplace. But now that I've seen him, I'm in Terry's camp now. I'm glad.
But the thing is, it means that Arteta and his coaching staff know that there needs to be a plan B. There needs to be an option B. We could get to a semi-final or a final, and all the approach play is wonderful, but the team we're playing against keep dropping back 11 men behind the ball, and every now and again, it's a good idea to bring a guy off the bench who can dominate the air.
And actually, there was one thing yesterday. Now Ramsdale, I don't know his distribution is still excellent. Like, he's a brilliant. But one of the balls he kicked out. Jesus was kind of by himself. And Jesus, he's dynamic. Like he headed this ball to himself into space, and Joe went into the box. I think it was Martinelli came through, or someone came through on his left anyway, and it ended up going wide. But it just proves, like you were saying, he's not aggressive or he's not tall, but he is dynamic, and he is able to get up off the ground, and he is like he's not. And look, he got to go. And of course, our actually funny thing, even though we don't have a big man up front, we are strong at set pieces.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we are a good set piece team. Like, that's one thing we definitely have going for us. So it'd be interesting to see how things develop as we move on. from there. So sorry there.
No, it's worth saying that people might not know this, but since last year we pinched Man City's set piece coach, and it made a phenomenal difference last year, and it's already making a difference. So they do practice these set pieces. It's not by accident anymore that teams score from set pieces. And our record of not conceding at set pieces was sublime last year.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Richard, how good is the squad? Can they go all the way? Can they win the Premier League? And if not, why not, Richard?
No, they're not going to win the Premier League, mainly because Man City have got Haaland, they've got Alvarez, and they've strengthened Liverpool. We don't have enough quality all the way through. We're still probably 3 to 4 world-class players short. Got a good squad, and I think third, fourth is well within our capabilities. We're just short of those experienced, those title-winning experienced players that will get you over that line. And I think eventually, come towards the end of the season, and in maybe some of those crunch games, that will tell, especially just after the World Cup. But I mean, I'll head back to the Palace game as well. I mean, if you looked at Jesus there, defensively, he was going to people using there. This is where you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
There, and also Odegaard, his stats, and the main stat that up on was he run further than any other player over that Premier weekend. He covered about 12 and a half kilometres, which is a phenomenal amount of distance. And I know we all don't particularly like Xhaka. He's got his good points, but 86 minutes on Saturday, him, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, sprinting back towards Warden back, got goal in the 86th minute. You can't fault his work ethic. You can't. Yeah. We know he's not defensively capable and he's not mobile, but it's saying. And Tell, you mentioned we haven't got a tall man, but what I noticed in pre-season and in some of the matches now, we're pinging balls over to the back posts where either Saka and Xhaka on or Martinelli on the left are trying to get into those positions.
Well spotted, Richard, because that isn't by
centre of the goal.
Yeah, I was going to say, Richard, well
it's spotted. It's a way of getting past it, but I still think we need a plan B.
Yeah, but as you say, Richard, it's not Richard, I was just saying it's not by accident that's happening. You're quite right. They know there's no point in lobbing it into the middle without a good bit of ping on it. So they're pinging it across beyond the sort of far post, which wrong foots defenders, the defenders. And then you've got people like Jesus coming in, nodding it in. So it's all on purpose. Listen, Arteta's got a system, of course he has. Trust the process. And we were worried, as Tim said, that he was overcooking it a bit because the players in the end have to make the big decisions on the pitch. But he's learning. And he will have learned at some points, don't overcook it. Let them go out. Let them do their stuff. Oh, listen, a quick one that you might be interested in. I was in a dressing room yesterday and I was following a hurling match and not thrown up, but proper Irish hurling. And it was a cracking match. And it had all the thrills and spills that you'd get in any kind of a game. The first thing that happened was one of the players on my brother-in-law's team is Kilkee, and in that team, a fella got sent off. I heard the ref say, it's your own fault. You've had a yellow, but this is a straight red. But fine, absolutely. But you could hear the refs telling them exactly why. But in a dressing room, the manager never mentioned it. And the reason was the player knows himself. And then we had, this was
There's
funny,
more.
we had this ball that sort of went wide, okay? And the guy in goal was not a young fella, and he was quite a mature guy, and he must have said something to the ref that you aren't supposed to say. But along the lines of that ball was extremely wide, and it wasn't a point. And the ref booked him, yeah? And then after the match, I heard the ref saying to him, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, I chalked off that point because you were exactly right. It was well wide, you know. And I loved the bit in the dressing room. I went in with my brother-in-law and I heard the debrief, you know, this guy called Nick does. And it's wonderful to hear because he apologized to the guys that didn't get on as subs. He said, I know you come a long way and all this. And it was upbeat. It was really upbeat. Nobody was being told off. Or, in fact, they won by a point, which was a miracle because they were leading by 3, and then I had a man sent off. But it was a bit like, and it wasn't staged. I know we can all watch this Arteta thing, but he never mentions tactics, of course, because he dared. So he stages it. But I heard the real thing. And it was absolutely fascinating from my point of view, because it's a long time ago since I played. But it's wonderful to hear how managers deal with the emotions after a game. A lot of the players are absolutely shattered. They've got no words. They've got no breath left. And it was wonderful to see. And I know quite a few people who watch Cannon Fodder and are quite involved, like Tim with the team here in Scariff. You know, they're still involved in grassroots sport, and it's in the last few years, it's one of my greatest joys. Grassroots sport is the heart of why we love ball games.
But just one point there. There's a thing in the moment in Ireland, and it's a book. I don't know what. So Matt Dickinson, is he an English journalist? He wrote a book about the treble when United did the treble, right? And obviously, Roy Keane features very prominently in it. But it's all about this aggro. He's angry towards players. He's aggressive towards people. But someone says that's gone. Them days are gone. Now it's about inclusivity, keeping people involved, almost like creating a positive environment. Allowing people, like, I mean, I haven't seen now, but someone says there's a book about Klopp and how he has turned around Liverpool. But there is a bit of that with Arteta. I know he holds things to a high standard, obviously, and all that, but he does seem like a person that wants people to develop. And Martinelli, I think, is the best example of that. I remember Martinelli when he kind of was a bit too many, kind of headless, not headless would be the wrong word, but do you remember he was playing the League Cup and he wouldn't be playing the first team and he was trying to do everything. He was all over the place. But then he got his chance in the first team and he really has developed. Like, I mean, he's now a leader for the Arsenal first team, like along with Jesus. I think he's not something official today, but like they have a lot of leaders now. They have Odegaard would say captain, but they have Jesus, Martinelli, Zinchenko, all these, even our friend Xhaka, they've all kind of been taking on a lot more responsibility, and it's like, Arteta has given them the ownership. You take it on, you make the decisions, and survive on your own beliefs. Like, in other words, you can force the thing on someone, and they'll never really buy in. But if it's their own idea, obviously you get the like Richard said there, the scenario of a player running 12 kilometers. Like 12 kilometers, it's unbelievable. It's crazy.
Richard, so we've seen 6 installments on the All or Nothing. What's been your general view of the documentary so far?
Well, it's been highly edited. We knew it would, but I like the Man City one, and I didn't like the Spurs one. I thought it was too much about Mourinho, and this is more like the City one, and you're getting an insight into things that you wouldn't normally see unless you've played football. So that's good. You can see certain players there. Ramsdale was one that stands out. He hates conceding. You can see how highly the coaches rate Martinelli. Round was speaking to Edu about what he thought of him. You get to see what what Arteta's like. Yeah, he's he's like anyone who does anything competitively. He hates losing, and that will show. But I think players need that. You need a little bit of a stick and a little bit of an arm around you now and again. And he seems to be doing that as well with the players. So he's getting that blend right. He won't always get it right because he's still learning, but he is progressing with that. And again, it's nice to see the back team and how they're collating the team. It shows you in one of them where he's got the ball. We're overloaded in this position. We need to get rid of that and balance the squad out. And this is what we need to do. And it's good to see that actually paying Aubameyang's contract off is better for the club than thing. And as it showed in the documentary, if you've seen that fourth episode, Arteta says, "I've documented everything, every conversation, every incident, and this is why I'm going down this route." They don't go into great detail, which is fine, but you know that there has been more, and it's all been documented. They've had conversations about it, and it's not improved. So it goes to, as I said, it shows he said, at what point do you say enough is enough? If you let it go for him, you've got to let it go for everyone. And I could see his point, but yeah, I think it's been good. It is highly edited, but it's to see that it never was going to give you warts and all. But I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, Richard, just very quick before I go to Terry, actually on the All or Nothing. Do you not think that the situation could have been resolved a lot sooner? I mean, when you get to the point where you're actually noting down every incident, that horse is already bolted. So do you not think Arteta should have dealt with it, nipped it in the bud a lot sooner, rather than taking notes and then see where it was going?
Yeah, I think it could have. I think it could have been dealt with sooner. But maybe he was giving him enough rope to hang himself. I think once it got to that point, there was no way back because Arteta couldn't trust him. And if you're doing those sorts of things, you're showing no respect to your teammate, the club, the manager, and then where do you go from there?
Yeah, but he never struck me as being
maybe there should have been an earlier resolution.
Yeah. Terry, your thoughts, All or Nothing?
I haven't. I've got to be honest. I haven't seen it, but I've just seen excerpts.
Yeah, same as that.
Yeah, so that's all I've seen. But I'm very pleased that he does get angry. Obviously, that's as a tutor of kids or adults, you only can get angry so many times. So you hold it back, and then you have to say it. And I'm glad the way when he was getting angry, he didn't eyeball people, because they can then feel they're being targeted.
Well, maybe he did, and it was edited out, Tel.
Which one?
Maybe he did eyeball, but they edited those parts out.
Right. I would never do that in teaching, because if you eyeball a kid, all the other 29 know he's been eyeballed. So it's not, you can't alienate people because you've got to get them up and running for the next game So the bit I saw, he didn't eyeball anybody. But hopefully he keeps it back, and he does it rarely. I didn't like what Wenger did. Wenger used to come in and say nothing. And say nothing for a while they're gathering themselves together. But occasionally I would like to say, right, while it's fresh in your mind, what was happening there?
No, I haven't seen. I always saw in clips or whatever. But my son, we're up to watch it. My son's in Portugal when he gets back. Hopefully Sunday we're going to have a binge on it. But the thing about the Aubameyang thing. Now, Aubameyang, I think Alex, you touched on it best there. He was given responsibility. He hasn't that personality. He just wasn't good. Yeah. But the one thing I would say about the documentation of it, I'd say United have gone like they're toxic. It's toxic. The toxic dressing room now, like, and like, you know, if that Aubameyang thing had been mishandled, and like you must remember, he went out the door. Now Eddie Nketiah came in, as in, you know, he became a more central player, we'll say. Lacazette, you know, it was really at the end of his days. You know, like, I mean, you had to ensure that the people you were left with were buying in, and you were going for, you know, like, I know it wasn't the fourth, but they were finished in fifth position. Players worked hard, and like, actually, just a slight tangent here is that Saka was the main man there. So he was our creative player. He has been. Saka has had a relatively quiet start to this season, and we're playing. We're like, oh, he's still a very good player. Don't get me wrong, and he's going to be a core player. When it come Christmas and afterward, when the fat's in the fire, like, and we're fighting for things, he will be a central part of it. But like at the moment, he's a little bit peripheral, and like the Martinelli and the Jesus and Odegaard, they're all providing the creative outlets that we require. In other words, like, there's a certain aspect of this squad. It looks really deep, and defensively. Now, I'm probably going to say this 400 times in 400 different ways, but like defensively, we look like a team that's we're going to challenge it. Like, you must remember, we could have beaten Man City last year. You know, we should have. We certainly should have beaten Man City for the Gabriel penalty and or the sending off and all that. But like, and we're better this year now, and we look to be playing a style that can take them on. Now, I think it is high tempo. It is a lot of work. It is, but we're definitely closing in on challenging for something. Like, I love silverware. I think you know what I mean? Yeah.
Tim, very quick question, Tim. With the all or nothing, Arteta isolated Aubameyang from the squad? Would you have dealt with things differently, or do you think he was right?
Well, I'd say there was a kind of thing. Like, I mean, the big thing I remember about Arteta and Aubameyang was I know he isolated him in the squad, and that was possible. That, like, you're very close to bullying at that point. Do you know what I mean? You know, you're kind of in a not. I don't want to be too controversial here, like, but you're not far away. It's kind of been overly done. But you must remember, I remember he was captain. The North London Derby was on, and look, let's be honest. There are people. Entire season is decided by how Arsenal do against Spurs. You know, that would decide whether you're a success or failure in some people's eyes. Like, and he was late. Remember the drop?
That was ridiculous.
Ridiculous sort of stuff. You know. So he seemed to be like a bit too kind of laissez-faire about things. I know he was a supremely athletic individual, unbelievable. He just had it.
But when you think about it, Tim, he was not a young player. He was 29 years of age and all that happened. He's a mature player who's played around the German leagues and played around for different clubs. And there is no, listen, on the kind of money they're on, do you think I'd ever be late?
Yeah.
I'd be there the night before.
Yeah, whistling coming in the door, like, as you rolled up your sleeping bag as after arrived.
Yeah.
How you, Gaffer?
But I'm in.
But that was it. I could never figure out that. And like, the thing about it is that you were depending on, he was central in terms of leadership, but he was really our main goal scoring threat, and he was our only goal scoring threat there for a while. Like, we were depending on Smith Rowe and Saka and younger player Martinelli and Silva. So he just like collapsed around us, and next thing he left us in the lurch. And there was no kind of, as you kind of see, like the buy-in from the clubs is that the clubs that are willing to maybe give up a bit of their own game for a system, they're the clubs that are really winning. But we could be the benefactors of that now, because Jesus has definitely offered up a bit of his game for the Man City system. And now he's not being rolled on and taken off. And you have to be, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Look, there's no doubt about he's a good manager. But he's a lot of money spent. Mm-hmm. He has Kevin De Bruyne, and some of them are really blossom under him. But other players have become maybe squad players that could be very central players to another team, and Jesus could be that. And Zinchenko, to me, he looks like. I know, don't get me wrong. I thought Tierney was a fabulous player 2 seasons ago. Remember, he was unbelievable. He was nearly winning. He was controlling games from full back line. But like Zinchenko looks like a guy who's going to be a kind of a solid midfielder, kind of as we're attacking and fit back into a side. So he's really going to close that out. And like with Gabriel, because Gabriel is strong and he's aggressive and he gets stuck in, but he was often prone to the other little bit of a blunder here and there. So having maybe a steady head around him might be just the ideal thing.
Tim, as well, it was interesting that the first goal we conceded against Leicester came in on our left back side, and shortly after that we brought on Tierney, because Zinchenko's only a makeshift left back. He's very much a left-sided midfielder with the most wonderful box of tricks in him. I mean, those back heels and stuff he does, wonderful. And I do see that we're going to need to keep Tierney fit. Now, you won't need to put out your best team always, because we'll have League Cup matches coming up. We'll have Europa matches against weaker teams where we can rest players. But I think a lot of this season depends on two things. First of all, keeping our fullbacks fit or having good replacements. And they are the ones, I believe, I read this about Klopp's fullbacks. They cover the most ground. The centre-backs don't actually cover a lot of ground, but the fullbacks under Klopp's system are roaring up and down. So we want to keep our fullbacks fit or have some good backup. And I'm sorry to say this, lads, but when Partey's at his best, he's a very good CDM come creative midfielder. But I still hark back to the most wonderful days, and it was only for 2 or 3 seasons where we had Vieira and Petit. And Petit had been a centre-back, and that where Wenger brought him and pushed him into midfield. And those two, to me, were like the ideal double pivot. Now, I'm not saying that Arteta wants a double pivot. In fact, I don't think he does. But if we had a totally reliable CDM and some good fullbacks that weren't going to get injured or some good replacements, then we're not far short of one heck of a team. And when you think we're trying to beat City, who are owned by an oil country.
So
they're owned by a country. Qatar or something? You know, I mean, you know, so it's mad. It's mad. So. And I do actually think there should be some sort of limit put on how much money these barons, or whatever you call them, these oligarchs, can put into football clubs, because it distorts competition. And there's nothing better than, listen, I want Arsenal to win every match 10-0, but that's not going to happen. And thank God, because I'd rather see a cracking game and Arsenal just get it, you know, and then even neutrals say, my God, that was a great team. We had that with Wenger's team a few times where we didn't always play people off the pitch, but, you know, we had the passion allied to all the wonderful players that he bought. And I really think as a sport, and if you step back from it and look at it, you don't want runaway teams. Listen, what have we got at the moment? Everybody who sort of knows their sort of onions knows that number 1 and number 2 in the EPL this season is going to be perm from these two, Man City or Liverpool. It's not going to be
No.
Yeah, I think, Alex, I am in agreement with you here. Now, I'm not going to put a number on us, by the way. It's a bit early for that. But Liverpool have had a full back. Now, as England have shown on numerous occasions, they don't trust him. But like their most creative player has been Trent Alexander-Arnold. They have been dictating it. So that kind of fullback creativity, these long passes, these kind of that can be done. Now, I'm not saying Zinchenko can do that, but he's definitely heading in the right direction. Like you say, he's more of a left-sided midfielder than he is a fullback, and you want good defenders. But one weakness, I kind of said to myself, so when we were talking yesterday, what's I was saying, like, where is the weakness? Like, where is the weakness? Like in so talking to myself, I'm saying Partey is the weakness, not him personally, but that single pivot, one player, something happens. That's where the squad depth is weak. And if you have a double pivot, and like Jackie used to be back there, and I think that's where he made all his friends when he was the other player. That's what people really loved him. But you know what I mean? That was it. But like you'd be afraid. You would be afraid. That looks to be our Achilles heel as of this afternoon. But like other than that, we look to have a lot of cover. Like with Tomiyasu and Tierney not starting matches. With Smith Rowe, kind of who I think Smith Rowe was he our lead scorer last year? Do you know what I mean? He was up there. He was challenging it. We have a lot of quality in places. And we have the new Vieira when he comes in. Well, but like Joe, we haven't. But that would be one thing. I would say if you were saying looking at Arsenal, oh no, they're not going to go like Terry says there. If they're trying to squeeze in on the duopoly of Liverpool and Man City, then why wouldn't they do it? You'd be afraid of the single pin and be so dependent on Partey. You know what I mean?
Richard, I need to go into the live chat. Do you want to add anything else on top of what the fellas have said, Richard?
Hang on. Yeah. All I would say is that you look at how they built the squad. Now in that back line, Tommy Asso can cover left back, so can Suarez. So White Saliba can cover right back along with that. Tommy Asso and Saliba can cover left back. Tierney can cover left back. So we're building and getting lots of players in that can fill multiple positions. The one area you'll be weakest in is in that central midfield. That Partey, you then go to El Neni. After El Neni, possibly Lokonga. Zinchenko may be able to play there. We know White's done it at Leeds, but they're not Partey quality. So that's probably our weakest area, and we probably need a wide a forward that can play across all three positions just to give us more depth in cover there. I mean, that's it really, I think.
Okay, I need to go into a live chat for the first time, and we've got John, the Geezer Gooner. So the evening, Gooners, what a time to be a Gooner. Oh, okay, I won't say anything more about that. The moderator, Ashley, says, hey up, Gooners, welcome to the Cannon Fire TV and the very dodgy gang. Very dodgy gang.
Our reputations have been before.
That's because my son's just shaved my hair.
The assembled says, afternoon, gents, as well as Arsenal are doing at the moment. The key thing is to maintain our form with clever use of the squad. Are you confident that our form will be maintained, Terry?
I'm worried. I worry that when we had this last season, once you get a lad like Tierney injured, we've struggled to cover him. When Tomiyasu was injured, we struggled there. I think, can I just say, in terms of centre-backs, I'm very happy. I've really always have rated Saliba. I think we haven't treated him very well. He must have been very hurt when he was playing for Saint Etienne. We sort of loaned him back. Do you remember 2 years ago when we first bought him? And Saint Etienne got through to the French Cup final, which is unusual for them. And it was a day after his loan thing was due up, and he was due back at Arsenal, and Arsenal refused to let him play for his hometown club, I think. So, I mean, he must have been very sour about that, because they lost the final by 1 goal, and who knows, had he been playing, they might have been picking up silverware. So I think management wise, that was a massive own goal by Arsenal. But listen, I love the player. He's got a bit of Van Dijk about him. He's got a bit of David O'Leary about him. He's got a bit of Tony Adams about him. I see him as a future captain. I know we've got to extend his contract, but I would be offering him some decent money. And I think he could be one of the all-time greats in years to come. But in terms of the squad getting through the season, I think we'll go for top 4. But if you try and go for top 4, you could slip. So we'll obviously have to go for the league and do our best. And I think we might be a bet for the Euro League. That might be a very good shout, because by and large, you don't meet the top teams until the top teams drop out of the Champions League, the sort of third placed in the group stage. So we may well get to quarterfinal or semi-final stage before we really meet, unless we're unlucky. But we might well get that far before we start meeting, and then you've only got maybe two teams between you and the final, and you've got a home and away. So that could be a bit of silverware. And yes, when you sit down at the Emirates and you look around, what you see is all the items of silverware that we've won since we were, first started up 1886. And it's got the silhouette of the FA Cup, the silhouette of all the different cups that we've won, and the date. So silverware is what it's about. Competing is what it's about. and I would love to see us get top 4. But as I say, you don't just go for top 4 because if you could slip on it, and then I would love a piece of silverware.
Right. Rich, I know you're one for stats. This one comes from John. He says, some guy on Twitter pointed out in both games we had less position than the opposing team. What do you think of that, Richard?
Well, if you look at the Leicester game, we went 2 up and dropped back. So I think that was probably not understandable. The Palace game, let's be honest, they were tough. They battled, and we stood up and were counted. But we had to do it on the back foot. We had to give them possession, to batten down the hatches. And yeah, we all have 60+ possession win games. But sometimes you've got to win games with less possession. And at the moment, with that ability. Now, last season, people were doubling up, tripling up on Saka. They can't do that this season because they've got to look after Jesus. They've got Martinelli.
Good point.
So that's going to give Saka a little bit more free. Plus, with those 2, it takes a bit more weight off Saka's shoulders, and I think we'll see the benefit of that.
Oh, well said. Well said. And this one's for you, Tim. Another stat from Des the Enforcer. Says, even Alex on the panel, a stat from the match: the Foxes' first shot on the goal was on the 5th minute. The second attempt was on the 70th minute. That's impressive.
Well, that is as the new XG guy, I would like to say that is what I was trying to say. Is that actually, even though that is impressive, and that just highlights, that we did win the match on XG. And if someone's going to start telling me stop talking about XG, but anyway, the Leicester, the Crystal Palace game, it was pretty much the same XG, and we won by 2 goals and didn't concede a goal. So it wasn't that we won 2-0. We didn't even give them the one. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was and we watched that here, Terry.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now. Do you remember Jesus came in at one stage, gave a great ball to Odegaard, and he came in his wrong foot and he missed. Well, I tell you, there was language used in here. You wouldn't hear it in a convent. I'll just say that anyway. I said, that's our chance now. I said, and of course, I had flashbacks of all of last season. Quinn, let's be honest, matches we should have drawn, we were losing. Matches we should have won, we were drawing. And next year came back down. And Saliba and Gabriel, those 2 in particular, but the fullbacks as well. But they had, thou shalt not pass. They got stuck in. They had, and we were badly exposed in midfield that day. Now I felt, Partey, Xhaka. They not saying there was any one individual, but they were coming at us. As Richard coined the phrase there, they got stuck in. Well, they definitely got stuck in. Palace were coming to play. They wanted to get something out of this, and we didn't give them a chance. So look, Saliba is going to develop. He's going to make mistakes, but to have it's 21. It's 21.
21.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And by the way, Tavares. Now, look, I hope people don't go back and look at future moments about Tim Hogan talking about Tavares. But you know what I mean? He could develop. He's gone out there now. Yeah. He's going to. He could develop. He could be the next. He's raw. He's raw. So maybe Saliba. He definitely. Do you remember? Oh no, it was my. Football is on this house now pretty much 24/7 at the moment. The main instigator is in Portugal at the moment when he comes back. But last year we were watching him play, and Saliba, he really did develop. That French league helped him an awful lot, and it is a different league. There's no point in saying the Premier League, whether a lot of people we're watching it here, is just the vastness of the competitiveness, and Graham Souness says himself in trouble this morning. But what he did say was it's a physical game. People are getting stuck in. It's abrasive. You need a squad, and you need brave people. And Jesus crosses me as a brave player. He's going to keep that ball up there, and like Richard pointed out, he's a winner. He's been part of a winning team, and now he sees himself. Well, this is going to be a winning team too. But the only difference is I'm going to be central to this one. I'm not going to be the peripheral player. I'm going to be central to this success.
And also, if you surround players by top quality players, they up their game.
Yeah.
They up when you're surrounded by people who are really good at whatever your job is, you rise to it.
Yes.
You rise to it.
Yeah.
And Saka, yes, he's looked a bit under par, but my God, he's probably thinking, I'm normally double and treble. Everybody's and now I've only got one guy. Now what do I do? You know, I mean, we have a team of many talents. We're not a team of all-stars yet, but we are beginning to. I can see we've got a team of many. The front five are frightening. Absolutely frightening.
And even though, like, Odegaard is not, Joe, he's a captain, and his captaincy, and he will make those type of mistakes like I talked about against Crystal Palace. But his work rate, he just oozes that kind of professionalism that you expect from people that are playing the elite sport at the highest level. You look at it, he's always covered in sweat, this blondie hair, like myself, I can do it, but you know what I mean? He has that kind of, like, he's getting stuck in. The only scoreline that matters to him is the one at full time. He doesn't want to know he's going to cross the white line, he's going to give it his all. And he is a leader, and I think Jesus, and he will learn from Jesus, because Jesus will tell him, well, the year we won the Premier League, or this year, or this game, we should have been beaten. I mean, I often remember the Invincibles, and Thierry Henry was at Portsmouth, was one of the toughest matches they had. So, and they grinded it out, like, so they grind up. So matches, things like Crystal Palace, things like, it could be fine. It'll be interesting to see where we are the week of the United match, Joe. That's kind of 5-6 matches in. Yeah. We'll have a good. How are we going that day? And that'll be a test of us. I think that I'm very interested to see where we'll be at that point.
I mean, I'd love to see us play United next week.
Oh yeah, well, so
but I think
I don't know.
But no, I mean, they are abysmal.
Oh.
Thank goodness for that. Hey, but in 4 or 5 matches time, 6 matches time maybe, we play them, and I worry that Ten Hag will have turned it around. I don't think he'll turn it around.
No, he won't turn around. It's the system. Like, I mean, they're talking about, it's the 30th anniversary of the Premier League, and after 2 matches in the first year, United were at the bottom of the table, and they bought Cantona and won it. Yeah. There's no one single signing going to do that for you anymore. Can't you see how many hundreds of millions have Arsenal spent? You know, Gabriel, Ramsdale last season, Jesus, Zinchenko. There's big sign. Some of the most successful signings then are like Tommy Asso, who's just like, what's he, 5-6 million? Really? Come in and play. So, like, I mean, it's about bringing players in, developing players, and having. And the big problem, or the big thing that Arteta has, he's created a culture that looks like it's allowing players to develop and grow. And he looks like a man, as the saying goes, a man with a plan. He's kind of, he's taking a small bit more step back. And like things like set pieces are kind of like, I always say, they are kind of almost a training ground measure of work ethic, because it's really about just going through it, repetition, get it right, have it right. And then if you can execute it on the day of the match, it kind of says, well, these boys are putting in the hard work, and now they're getting the rewards. No.
Okay. Lynn Smith says, Simpson says, what I got from the documentary was that Arteta is so passionate for Arsenal. He has all his players at heart. He only wants to see them succeed. We've got one here from a gentleman who featured actually on the, I think it was probably the 4th or the 5th episode, Apollo from 101. And he's in the live chat. He says, hit that like button. And he also goes on to say, Klopp also spent about £70 million, more than Arteta has done in his first 3 years. Though Klopp and Coutinho to sell took claw back over £120 million of that, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, about 300 million for Arteta. Because the 1920 season, Emery and that, he only spent about 8 to 16 million in the December window. But his problem is that he's had Goss. You've had much to try and get rid of, and you be by the Ozil on ridiculous wages, not performing. Who's going to buy them? Now, what he's done is he's changed that squad completely. we've now got players, but people will want to pay more. I mean, we've still got Bellerin and Pepe to get rid of, and Ainsley, mate. But after that, our squad will be full of people, but other clubs will pay money for. So I think in the next 2 years, you'll start to see us mainly on those players and those youth players. Remember, last season or season before, we went out and bought a load of under 23 players, and those are now going out on loan, and we're starting to sell some of those. We had Maverick, and we're starting to see fruits of it. It's something like Chelsea has been over the years. Go to the young talent in and selling them on for a decent fee, and that's been just start getting them towards profit and being able to be self-sustainable. So I'm thinking to see that for us.
I wonder if people saw the footage of 2 people auditioning for Strictly Come Dancing. I don't know if you saw that at the end of the Chelsea match. I mean, that in Ireland is called driving.
Yeah, it's all with the hips.
And these guys, the hips were going. And Klopp wanted his partner to look him in. I mean, it was romantic. It was romance.
I tell you.
Written large.
Yeah.
We have to end the show because I believe that the Hogans have to go off because they're about to coach a game. Is that right, Tim? You've got.
Yeah. We're not mad panic, but we have to go coaching later on. Now we're back in action. But
if I could advertise in case there's any people
very quickly,
Tim is the top man for the Scariff O'Gonolo. Well, last season it was the under-13s, and they won it.
Oh yeah,
they won. We had the trophy on Cannon Pop TV.
Yeah.
And they're now the under-14s, and they're hopefully, we haven't had a match yet. We've just been training. But hopefully we'll carry on as we left off.
Yeah. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. So that's it. The end of the Cannon Project, the first Cannon Project of the new season. Richard, thank you again for coming back on the channel. No doubt we'll be seeing you very, very soon again. Yeah, really good. And the Hogans.
Thank you.
The Hogans.
Great to be back. Great to be back,
lads.
I've got to apologize. There's been so many comments in the live chat I just didn't get to read. But join me tomorrow when I have some more news about Arsenal. It'll be about Arsenal, nothing else. Until then, we are finished. Thank you also to my moderators. And this has been Cannon Fodder, the channel for Arsenal fans.